Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope y'all are having a fan-fucking-tastic evening. I know I am, but I also know that our buddy Sean is not, and that's why you're seeing me. I am basically the Colt McCoy of podcast hosts. A solid backup, a solid backup when the other guy just can't quite do it. But you'll be really glad when the other guy comes back. For all you NFL fans, that one's for you. I'm Zach, and I'm here tonight with Kieran and Maddie. We're going to be covering a whole lot of stuff tonight, and we're going to be doing it in a fairly short amount of time. This is going to be a somewhat abbreviated edition of Fandom Empire Live, but no less awesome. So thanks to everybody that subscribes to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. Go follow us on all our socials, and we'll wrap with some more information on that as well.
Wait. Why didn't you call yourself the Nick Foles, the backup quarterback who won a Super Bowl?
I don't want to be the Nick Foles. I honestly don't. Like, I'm happy to help out when and where I can, but I don't want to be like taking somebody else's job and winning all the fame. This has always been Sean's thing, and I'm just stepping in because he can't make it. That's all I'm here for. So I'm excited. I'm no less excited to be here, and I'll be a solid stand-in. But I'm not here to like win Super Bowls. I'm just here to get a solid start and keep the show going until Sean gets back. Everybody be sure to send Sean some thoughts and prayers his way. He has had a hellacious day, but the show must go on, and it's going to go on with myself and with Kieran and Maddie. Kieran, how are you doing tonight?
John's probably faking it. Anyways, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually feeling great. Yeah, I don't know. I've been doing good. I'm down 28 pounds now, so pretty excited. I recently got past a brick wall. I weighed the same for like a week, but yeah, doing good there. Feeling good. I don't know, everything's good.
That's awesome. I need to probably lose about 10 to 15 myself. I'm getting married in September, and I got to fit into that suit. So it's gonna be an interesting ride getting from here to there. But yeah, I'm all booed up, man. It's pretty exciting. I'm surprised she let me go on the air tonight. But also with us is Maddie. Maddie, I'm loving the hat, dude. But our resident Tampa Bay fan over there thinks it's going to be a short-lived stint wearing it. What do you think?
I completely disagree with him.
It's kind of funny. Nobody in this screen lives in the town that their team is in. Like,
No.
But it's still going to be a really fun playoff push. There was a great game over the weekend that my hometown team, but not my team, Dallas. Man, those Cowboys, they had a terrible run of it. But we're not here to talk about how much the Cowboys stink or how bad of a GM Jerry Jones is. We're here to talk about some things like the new slasher film that released over the weekend. We're going to be talking about some Joker / Spider-Man stuff. We're going to be talking MoonNight. We're going to be talking about the newest episode of the Book of Boba Fett in anticipation of the new one that's dropping later on tonight. And we got a really cool top 7. Because it's an abbreviated show, we're not going to do a full 10 tonight. We're just doing a top 7, and we'll get to that when the time comes. But let's kick things off with just a quick box office update on the new movie Scream that came out. It's set 25 years after the original, and its returns seem to be doing pretty good. Box Office Mojo has it listed with a current worldwide numbers hovering around 38 million, and it only had a 25 million budget. So when you account for the marketing that probably went into it, this film in 3 or 4 days has already broken even. Everything after this is likely to end up profit. So that's pretty promising. Either of you guys interested in catching this movie? Are you going to be able to catch this movie?
Already did.
I'm unable to. So.
Yeah, I heard that there was a lot of stuff kind of closing down up in your neck of the woods.
I've heard nothing but good things about this movie, though. I know one of our fans of Fandom Empire, Steven, I saw him his review of it on Facebook. He loved it. He said it was better than Halloween Kills, which is a lot of the sentiment I'm hearing out there. Is like, Halloween Kills really dropped the ball if it couldn't have done better than what Scream has done. So That's not my opinion because I haven't seen Scream and I quite liked Halloween Kills. So,
Mm.
but I've heard nothing but good things. And let's hear what Maddie's opinion is.
Yeah, Maddie, what's your take, man?
Best one since the first one.
How many have there been? I'm just that out of the loop, I guess. There's 5 others.
Well, this is the 5th one. This is the
This
fifth
is the
one.
5th one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we're gonna have to do like a top 5 Scream movies edition. Be like,
we did a ranking.
We kind of did last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Last week we did like a ranking, and the most common is 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 1 is the best, 2, 3 kind of falls off, and then 4 is shit. So that was kind of. There were some 1, 2, 4, 3s and some 1, 3, 2, 4s, but mostly it was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, we had a similar problem with the Intergalactic Peace Coalition. We tried a new game where we were prompting people, pick one movie from this row, one movie from this row, and those are the only ones you get to keep. And like, I got the results over here somewhere.
Was that the superhero one? Yeah.
It's like the superhero movies one, and like The Dark Knight blew everything out of the water on the first row. Endgame blew everything out of the water on the second row. No Way Home blew everything out of the water on the third row. And then the closest one was on the bottom row where it was like a 60-41 split between Deadpool and Logan. But like other than that, there were just a huge drop off after that. So
I remember I put Spider-Man 2 on there, but I didn't see that it was No Way Home. I thought it was Far From Home that you had on there. I thought you had the first two Spider-Mans with Tom Holland.
I was trying to like mix it up a little bit and have like some variety in there. So I remembered that there were some really high praises for Homecoming when it first came out, and then the recency bias kind of takes effect when you're putting out something like No Way Home. So Spider-Man 2 actually had a decent showing. It had a top 10 finish. It finished with 20 votes. So that's pretty good compared to how everything else turned out, because Dark Phoenix only got 2 fucking votes in that whole poll. So that didn't have a great turnout. But it looks like Scream is having a pretty decent turnout. And, our friend Michael Bish wanted to come on and kind of discuss it a little bit, but time constraints prevented him from doing that. Matt, any further thoughts outside of best one since the first one? Can you give us a little more depth about how your experience was?
I'll tell you this. I've been able to nail pretty much. Well, the second one, I knew it was somebody to deal with, probably Billy Loomis, and I've been able to pretty much hit every killer in all the other movies. I was not able to do that with this one.
Okay.
So it's gonna. That's all I'll say. Go ahead.
No. That's great, because I love movies that have that kind of intrigue attached to them. Something that keeps you engaged throughout the course of the film. That's what I loved so much about Knives Out. I know it's not like it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio, but being able to stay engaged and keep wondering how events play out throughout the whole movie is definitely something that I enjoy about those types of films. So
it definitely keeps you intrigued in it. I mean, you're in. Where other ones, I think in the past, the other ones are just like, okay, yeah. And I mean, the story pulls you in. It was very much a Wes Craven movie, and I think that's what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to pay homage to Wes by doing it kind of like how Wes would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to go. There's going to be more sequels, and I only hope that they can keep on with the kind of like the Wes formula or the Wes feel,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what works. And I'm scared if they branch off too much from that, what is it going to be like?
Well, they set up some new characters in this one, right? There's a new crew of characters. Okay, so then that would help to continue to have more sequels, right?
Yeah, I will say there's one, because if you know anything about it, too, there's this one scene, and I know if you know anything about the characters, Randy Meeks' niece and nephew are in this. And there's a scene when they go to the TV, and it's like a wall of Randy, and it's like it's kind of cool because if they paid homage to him like they did, kind of funny too because it's like about movies and everything. So it almost made you think he was going to be in it, but he wasn't.
Yeah, that's cool. I guess they're able to get him in there that way.
Yeah, it was a cool way to get him in. Yeah,
kind of a little switcheroo there too, being like, "Oh, we're gonna do this. Oh, no, we're not."
Did you see it?
I haven't yet. I've been invited to go see it, but the fiance and I have been doing wedding planning, so that's kind of been taking precedence. Also, quick little shameless plug: I have an audition next week to become a stadium announcer for a professional sports team in my area. So
that's awesome.
I'm going to be trying out during a scrimmage, and then we'll see if I get the job. But I'm one of 2 finalists, so I'm pretty excited about that. And that's the other thing I've been doing. I've been studying scripts, and I've been practicing and trying to get my game day voice in order. So I guess this is good practice. This and IPC, get behind a microphone and just start getting really excited about things. I don't know.
All right. Call it right now. I throw a touchdown pass to Maddie. Call that. Give us a call.
Here's a taste.
Gogan rolls out to the right. Pump fakes, looking downfield. He's got a man, and it's caught. Maddie, 10-5, touchdown.
Yes, that was really good.
But if Kieran was throwing, it's probably going to be a pick.
You ever see me play? I could have made the pros had I not blown out my knee.
It was the pump fake that got him. Everybody bid on the underneath throw, and then you got him deep. So that's what
I bet I could throw a ball better than Ben Roethlisberger right now.
Oh my God!
Jesus Christ!
Jesus. Well, this isn't a sports show, guys. Let's. But I was pretty excited about hearing that I was a finalist. So
that's amazing.
Keep me in your thoughts next week.
Well, I've already told you what your nickname is.
Oh, really?
From the get-go, the first time I heard you. Remember when I called you? I could hear some of.
Remind me.
Mike Greenberg.
I
can hear a little bit of Mike Greenberg in your voice.
Yeah, I do remember that now. I do remember that now. Well, hopefully I live up to that. We'll see. Let's talk about something else that just popped up within the last couple of days here. I think it was maybe yesterday, actually. Fresh off of the hype of being on Spider-Man No Way Home, Willem Dafoe kind of has an idea for what he might want to do next. There were a lot of people on social media that were saying he would have made an excellent Joker, but obviously there's been a lot of really great Jokers and some really shit ones that have come and gone over the last decade or two. And so what Dafoe was thinking, and this is a quote from IGN.com, he says, there's something interesting about, like, if there was a Joker imposter, he says. It would be possible to have not dueling Jokers, but someone that says to be the Joker that really isn't. And then that kind of opens up the possibility of an interesting story, particularly if you had Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and then you had someone who was either imitating or riffing off of what he did. Now, based on what we know about Phoenix's Joker character and what we know Dafoe was capable of with multiple personalities being the Green Goblin character, I actually see this as a plausible outcome because, dealing with the personalities that we get from Phoenix's Joker combined with the personalities that we get from Dafoe's Green Goblin, this doesn't seem like a super far-fetched ideas. Thoughts, guys?
It actually sounds like a great idea, and not only that, but it has some source material, really, because in Gotham there were multiple Joker-esque characters that were kind of called or not called the Joker. In the comic book books right now, there was 3 Jokers for a while. Specifically, like 5 years ago, a storyline started where there was 3 Jokers. There's been some Joker imposters throughout, all the Batman lore. I probably couldn't go into all the things that have happened with Joker imposters, but it's happened a lot. There's also a character called the Creeper that was in the animated series that was kind of almost like a Joker ripoff in the same way.
The Conroy animated series?
Yes. In the fifth season fourth season that had a little bit of a different animation style. There's a character called the Creeper. He was yellow and he had a weird, like almost green looking boa or something like that. He had some red in there as well. He got created the same way the Joker got created, but different circumstances. But anyways.
The only villain character I remember from the animated series is the Condiment King.
he was fantastic. I love the Condiment King.
Come, Batman, let's see if you cut the mustard.
Oh my god.
But I think it's a good idea. They wouldn't have to take from any of those references or anything like that either, but
I mean if there's source material to play off of, then there's definitely some way to profit off of it.
There you go. This is the Creeper.
Oh, okay. Almost looks like the Reverse Flash without the speed suit.
I mean, you can't see it very well. I probably could have done that a better way. But either way, he's yellow and he has a big, weird red-looking cape that looks more like hair.
Yeah, I know what a certain person from The Incredibles would say about capes, but not going to dive into that franchise too much.
Yeah, no, I think it would be a great idea, and having those actors, play against each other, and instead of having a Batman there to play against the Joker. Also, in the Joker movie, he incites, riots and followers, and he has a movement going basically. So, very plausible sequel.
I loved how it was that movement that kind of sparked the Wayne storyline as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the tie-ins that it had to other parts of the Batman lore was really, really well done. Maddie, would you, if they did this, let's say it's a hypothetical, they greenlight this, and this is the Joker 2 storyline, how would you want it to play out? Would you want them to be like friends at first and then become enemies that become friends, enemies throughout, that Phoenix's Joker actually gets rid of? Like, how do you see that playing out with Dafoe as the opposite lead?
Oh, I wouldn't even touch the friends angle. I keep them both bitter enemies, and I think what they should do is almost like one of the writers, like they branch off and become their own kind of like Joker followers. So you'd have Joaquin's Joker followers, and then you could have Defoe's Joker followers, and then that's kind of the storyline. And maybe you bring in some like a Batman or somebody else to kind of like, yeah, but which one do you go after? Because I think both of these need to be extremely violent and not to like a piddly Jack Nicholson-ish type of bad guy. I mean, so yeah, I think I would keep them as enemies without, and they both converge on like Batman, and then Batman gets almost like taken out, something along those lines. But no Affleck to pay Batman, please, no.
Well, what's interesting is you've got a really young Bruce Wayne in the 2019 film, so unless
I didn't think about him.
Unless they time jump, and this movement has been going on for years and years, I don't know if this movie even needs a Wayne storyline. Regardless of whether Defoe's in it or not, I don't think Phoenix necessarily depends on the Wayne storyline to carry the Joker's character development. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how the second one plays out. From what I've heard, it hasn't officially been greenlit, but they're working on it. And but we're definitely going to let the dust settle on Matt Reeves' Batman movie before we even talk about a Joker 2. So one thing at a time, right?
We know what's going to happen Well, we know they're going to push for it to happen because
Yeah,
Loki
yeah.
was a huge
2024.
movie, right? So
The push is there, the financial success is there, the social media outcry is there. You just got to get Warner Brothers saying, "Hey, we want you to do this again." And
Yeah.
how deep into their pockets are they going to go to get Phoenix to come back for the role?
I think they probably do need to go pretty deep. I don't know if Phoenix really would want to do it that much. And I know that the director, is it Todd Phillips or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that he originally said like, oh, it's a one-off movie. It's a story on its own. And then they were like, but what about like he kept getting the question, and then eventually he was like, like I guess there could be a sequel. And then they're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
open up
Yeah.
the wallet. Yeah.
He gives the media what they want to hear. He gives the viewers what they want to read, and then maybe never commits to it. But
I think he's the hardest domino in that pile. Like, everything else it's gonna make money. So
right. Well,
2024 is probably what you're looking at for Joker 2.
I mean, it's already 22, which is still a weird thing for me to say. Like when I'm writing down dates and stuff, trying to put the year 22 at the end of it, I still have to like cross and do like a little curly Q that goes around my messed up 1 and be like, this is actually a 2, not a 1. I'm still not in that mindset yet. Ken the 13th says we should let Leto's Joker be an imposter as well. If we did that, we'd end up in like a weird multiverse type of situation, and I don't know if that's what the Joker is really built for. I don't feel like having that many crossovers and that many imposters would actually be good for the film. But
well, it's really based in reality, right? So
right,
or psycho reality, but reality like not superpower reality.
Reality to some people, but
I make one of their fathers Jack Nicholson.
Oh man, then we're getting into like the all-female Ghostbusters trope by just throwing in random ass cameos where they don't belong.
Jack Nicholson cameo versus that crap ass movie. I would watch a Jack Nicholson cameo over and over again before I watch that movie ever again.
Fair. Kenny Crayley Jr.'s in the chat. What up, Kenny? Thanks for joining us. We're a couple of articles into our discussion topics, and then we're going to do a little mini review of the chapter 3 of the Book of Boba Fett here in a second. Talking about stuff that is got some very interesting source material, but has a lot of creative interpretation. Fresh off of that discussion of the Joker, going right into a discussion about MoonNight. Us NFL fans, we saw the trailer during the football game last night, and now the Twitter sphere is abuzz because a lot of it seems like they're going to be loosely tying it to the comics, but perhaps not something that is like a direct interpretation. But I think by now we should be used to that because, I mean, pretty much all of the Netflix shows were kind of that way. Like they had a lot of great source material, but they weren't following any exact storylines or exact origin stories. So, Matt, I'm going to throw it to you. Initial impressions on the trailer and how you think it's going to do when it debuts on Disney Plus.
It looked good.
Do I need to throw it to Kieran first?
Yeah, throw it to Kieran first.
Kieran, your thoughts then, sir?
I really liked the trailer. I thought it was great. I thought it set in. MoonNight was a character that's been around for a while, but then kind of like had a renaissance in the, I want to say, early mid 2000s. They brought him back out in the comic world, and it really played up the fact that he was crazy and he was like seeing these Egyptian gods and he couldn't sleep and didn't know who he was, and that's a lot of what we get in the trailer is that he can't even jumble his multiple personalities and he's starting to be an insomniac. Really liked the trailer because it kind of gave off that vibe, and that comic was really well received, and a MoonNight series followed for quite a while after that. So I really like that, and also Oscar Isaac is, I think, a fantastic actor. I don't think that his role selection has been the greatest over the years. He's picked some parts that, being Apocalypse in the X-Men movie, he did a great job, but like, most people should have known that series wasn't doing so great. It wasn't gonna. I think it was a poor role for him to pick. But I think he's a fantastic actor, and I think he'll get to show it here, especially, playing. I mean, he's in a Marvel show, so it's not Oscar worthy or anything. No pun intended. But he gets to play a crazy person with multiple personalities and a superhero at the same time. So that role is going to get. He's going to be able to show off a lot in that role, I think. And from what I've seen, it looks great. So,
have either of you guys seen the old 1960s musical Mary Poppins?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my girlfriend hasn't. My fiance hasn't. So I always have to ask. She's the only musical she's seen is White Christmas, and that's because I showed it to her on Christmas Eve. Like, she is very sorely lacking in that regard, and so I'm gonna be introducing it to her gradually. But that's one of the ones on the list. Social media has been really, really abuzz, suggesting that Oscar Isaac went to the Dick Van Dyke School of Accents. For anybody that has seen Mary Poppins, Dick Van Dyke has a god-awful Cockney accent in that movie. And apparently the Brits and Europeans in general don't really seem to care for Oscar Isaac's attempt at a British accent. So I don't know if that's going to end up negatively impacting his role or not. But I'm with you, Kieran, that he probably could have chosen some better roles in certain places. But I think the thing that he's got going for him is he usually tends to embrace whatever role he's playing. Like, outside of Apocalypse, I look at him being in Dune. I look at him in Ex Machina, things like that. And even Star Wars to a certain degree. Whatever he's playing, he tends to really, really give it 100%. And so I think that's the thing that excites me the most about MoonNight. Not necessarily the content, not necessarily the source material. I don't really know a whole lot about MoonNight. I had to read a couple of articles and look at the wiki before this show just so that I was fresh on it. But if it's got Oscar Isaac giving it 100%, I don't care if he went to the Dick Van Dyke School of Accents. I'm still probably going to end up enjoying it.
They're really bringing out. I mean, they're getting to the C and D list Marvel characters. Like in the end of the Eternals, they revealed that Jon Snow there is going to be the Black Knight, and people are like, who the fuck is the Black Knight?
Mm-hmm.
He's literally just a knight. He has no superpowers. So should be interesting to have him in the Avengers. But yeah, people are like, what the fuck? There was just a medieval knight in the Avengers at one point? Yup.
Guess so. Maddie, you got your thoughts together yet now?
I had to watch the trailer again. Because that's what I was doing here. I know I saw it last night, so I was in here really a little more in depth with it. I got to go with Kieran a lot. That accent, I was like, whoa. The first time I heard him speak, I was like, whoa. But I think it has potential. I don't know. I mean, I'm like you. I don't know that much about MoonNight. But I am going to read a little bit more. But yeah. And is that Ethan Hawke in it too?
Yeah, it is. He's slated to be the main antagonist, and that's one of the things that IGN in particular was concerned about. Is it looks like they may be blending a couple of Moon Knight villains together, and they may be eliminating one of the multiple personalities that Moon Knight kind of takes on. He's supposed to be, like in the comics, apparently supposed to be like some rich American playboy, but in this one, he's a Brit that's working in a museum curio shop. So there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to be going directly off of the original source material, but the phone call to the guy named Mark, that's the original alter ego of Moon Knight's character. So apparently he doesn't even know that his name is Mark, and that could be like an interesting discovery phase for him. But obviously trailers keep it short on purpose in order to, deliver the intrigue. But I like what Ken the 13th said. March is looking like a dope month for Batman and Batman related content, because we're going to get the Batman movie, and then we're going to get basically what's believed to be Marvel's answer to Batman with the Moon Knight. I will say this, though. I actually kind of like Moon Knight's association with an Egyptian god, as opposed to Batman overcoming his fear of bats and wearing a bat suit. Like, I get revived by an Egyptian god, I'm scared of bats. Like, the potential's definitely there for some really cool stuff, but Batman's just been publicized way better.
Batman's been around for 80 years, right?
Longer.
So,
right.
It came from an idea that was not great, but how many, what were ideas like at the time? So,
true.
I mean, comic book superheroes, when guys like Batman and Superman rolled around, comic books were mostly about horror. And then they were like, yeah, we'll do one of those superhero things. They make, whatever. And then now comic books are all superheroes. So, at the time, that's why, Spider-Man and Superman were both just part of, Variety Hour, like Action Comics and Amazing Fantasy. They weren't really their own comics. So, yeah, just a guy who's like, he dresses up like a bat and he fights a clown. Like, cool, sure, draw it up.
Why not?
And now it's, one of the most famous properties in the world.
All because someone had a more vivid imagination than I do. All I get to do is talk about other people's imaginations. But it's definitely not an imaginary announcement that happened earlier today with the big release. I actually got woken up to this. My buddy Mondo, he's even more of a gamer than I am, he sent me this screenshot of Xbox's announcement that Microsoft had purchased Activision, which is just huge in the gaming world because it includes franchises like Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, Call of Duty, even Candy Crush is under Activision. And so, this is a multi-billion-dollar deal that Xbox did, and it's believed that it's for multiple reasons, including Activision's, front office being a piece of shit. And they're just like, you know what? You are making the whole gaming community look bad, because not long after the Xbox stuff dropped, there wasn't an announcement from Activision. There wasn't anything from, Blizzard's social community, but there was a report that came out that Bobby Kotick is going to step down as the company's CEO. And he had been under fire for a couple of different things. And so Microsoft was basically like, you know what? Fuck it and fuck you. We're going to hold these guys to a higher standard. But it's a purchase of almost $69 billion. Which, let me bring in a comparison. I did a quick Google search. Disney bought 20th Century Fox for $52.4 billion. All of the 20th Century Studios stuff, all of the properties associated with that, for less than 53. And this purchase is coming in at 68.7 is the estimated value purchase. I'm not a huge gamer. I'm not super into it, but even I recognize that this is going to potentially change the scope of gaming as we know it.
I mean, yeah, it's a really big move, and obviously, the statement that you made is funny because, we're not gamer. I'm not much of a gamer. I don't know about Matt. You're not much of a gamer, but you know who is a gamer? Young people. So this is the thing to buy. This is the thing to jump on is video games. They're not going away. Movies and TV, like movie theaters. What's going to happen to movie theaters in the next 10 years? Who knows? Right? Obviously, what's happening right now is not really their fault, but movie theaters in general were not doing as great. And, that it's all going to video games. Kids like to play video games. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the purchase is that big. It is definitely a giant purchase. A lot of those Activision games have been reinvigorated lately. Diablo and obviously Call of Duty is never doing bad. It's a top game every time they release a new one, and continues to be online all the time. So yeah, it's a big purchase of a lot of really good properties, and
Imagine if Call of Duty became an Xbox exclusive, though.
yeah, I know that would. I mean, when
Like-
it's Microsoft, being that it's Microsoft, I don't see why they wouldn't do that. I obviously they'll lose money from people who only have PlayStation or are PlayStation people specifically, but I don't feel like when we were kids, there was Sega and Super Nintendo kids, and Nintendo 64 and
Atari.
Dreamcast, and people and PlayStation. They were like, it was down the middle, and like I was a PlayStation kid, and I was not gonna get a 64. There were games that I liked for 64 and whatever. I had to go over to my cousin's house to play them, but where I'm going with this is I don't think people are quite like that anymore. I think a lot of kids have both, and a lot of kids would switch for their favorite game, Call of Duty, if that's what they like. I don't think they'd be loyal to their one system, so it could be a great move for Xbox to do that.
That's my train of thought. Is I don't think they're going to lose Call of Duty purchases or Call of Duty subscriptions from PlayStation users. I think they're going to gain in Xbox system purchases.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it won't be about one game or the other. It'll be about people finally deciding, hey, I'm not going to be a one or the other type of person. I'm just going to go ahead and buy an Xbox game system, and I'm just going to bite the bullet so that I can play Miles Morales on one system and Call of Duty on the other. Like I think that's where it's headed. I mean, it's to me, it's almost like the gaming equivalent of getting your favorite streaming services. I don't know anybody that is strictly Netflix, no Hulu. I think we're going to end up in a very similar boat when it comes to gaming, and seeing a whole lot of people just going ahead and getting a Switch, getting an Xbox, and getting a PS5, so that they are able to get anything from all the platforms. So it's definitely a gamble, but I think it's one that's going to end up paying off for Microsoft in the long run. So Kenny says in the chat, now that Microsoft has bought Activision, wonder if anyone's going to buy Sega. Good question. Don't know if I have the expertise or the analysis to be able to go into that much depth, Kenny. I'm sorry. I am the backup quarterback. I can't give answers on everything the way the A team would. Sean's taking the night off. Johnny took the night off. Tommy took the night off. I love being on here with you guys, but let's be honest, Johnny'd probably have way more thoughts on this than either of us would.
Oh God, yes.
Johnny has way more thoughts on everything than everyone would.
Yep.
So,
I think they're overrating those guys. Like, none of those guys are really any good.
I mean, I know my place.
Tommy's okay.
I know my place. It's over on the Intergalactic Peace Coalition podcast. I'm just happy to be here. But you guys go follow IPC on social media, because we just did that really great pick one from any road. We're going to be doing a Spider-Man discussion in a couple of weeks. And then after that, we'll be doing a full discussion on the Book of Boba Fett. But this is going to be a really good practice run for me, because for the next 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to be just doing like a mini-sode review here of the most recent episode of the Book of Boba Fett. It's Chapter 3, Tales from Streets of Mos Espa. Mos Espa, but the internet has been lovingly and jokingly calling it the Streets of Mos Vespa, because of the speeder bike / motorcycles in this episode that kind of give you almost a American Graffiti, not that 70s show, Happy Days type of vibe almost. But I didn't I didn't hate this episode. Apparently Maddie had too much to drink, so Kieran, it'll be you and me for the first couple of minutes. What did you take away from this third installment of this? What is it? 7-episode series? I think it's 7 episodes. Wikipedia says.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought it was great. I've actually loved the series so far. There's been a couple of little gaffes so far, like some of the CGI in the first episode was a little bit weird. But yeah, all I've heard so far is that people love Black Chrysanthemum, and people hate those punk cyberpunk weird kids on the Vespas. I have no problem at all with those characters. What the hell happened to my sound there? I didn't. I wasn't bothered at all by the characters. Not every character has to be a complete badass. They don't all have to be black with red makeup and like. Not all characters have to be that way. This is a very interesting way for Boba Fett to go. It's kind of like I find they remind me of like the punk kids who hang outside the mall. But you know what? They know the streets. They know what's going on. They know the vibe of the town. They probably have some interesting information, and they have nowhere to go. They're like kind of like outcasts. So I didn't find they were bad characters at all. I didn't find any of them super interesting yet, but we only really got to know the one with the cybernetic eye beyond kind of the beginning there,
and the steampunk girl with the arm.
Yeah, she got a little bit more screen time as well, but the fact that they all have the speeder bikes with the weird Vespas, and they all have their own color, but like they're flashy, they're like punks, they're they have a style of their own, and it doesn't have to be a style that everyone likes, and I didn't really have any problem with them, the characters, at all. I loved I loved the Hutts showing up again and telling them like, hey, like you guys better clear out, like a worse party is coming out here. So really setting up what will probably be the big problem of the season. I mean, we have to be getting into whatever the biggest problem is now, because we're only 7 episodes, and the next one dropping tonight is going to be the 4th episode. Actually, I totally agree with Kenneth's point here. I thought the first episode was amazing. The second episode was pretty good, and the third episode was amazing, I thought. Well, you know what? I just generally like the series so far, and I'm seeing lots of problems. I'm seeing lots of people post problems about it, and they don't like this and they don't like that. But I really like the way it's been told. I've loved the pacing so far. I like that it goes back and forth and tells you how he got to where he is and what the current problem is. I've thought the series is great so far. What have you thought?
I think the first 2 episodes were a little rough for me, but this third one I really got into it. I'm actually with Ken the 13th in the chat saying I do need more Black Chrysanthemum, who in just 1 episode became new favorite Wookiee. Like I even posted about this on my Twitter page at Zach the Voice, that I love the lore and the legacy that Chewbacca carries, but the one fight scene where Chrysanthemum fights off like 8 people and lives to tell about it, that's a badass Wookiee. Okay, like I'm sad that we didn't see any Gamorrean's arms get ripped off or anything like that, but I really, really enjoyed what we saw. I loved that they're building those connections to the comics. There's a history between Boba and Chrysanthemum that is probably part of the reason why Boba let him go at the end of this episode. And I firmly believe that he's going to come back and become part of their motley crew. So I'm really excited about what they're doing with that character. I'm really excited about the direction they're heading, because my problem with the first 2 episodes was too many flashbacks. I wanted the story to move forward. And I can't say if Dr. Aphra's coming or not. I know Sean is actually back with us in the chat. He must be feeling pretty good enough to be jovial and joining us in the chat like that. I can't say for sure whether I think Dr. Aphra is going to be coming or not, but all I do know is the stuff that we got in episode 3 seems to be setting up for some sort of a Mos Espa civil war with the Pikes. And I love the idea of having gunfights like the ones that we saw in Rogue One, where there's stuff being shot up in the streets and there's innocents that could potentially get hurt. And I like the potential that these next few episodes are being set up with by this chapter. I'm kind of indifferent on the speeder bikes, but people who make jokes about it being from the Power Rangers or being stolen by the Power Rangers, they just don't know how to have fun. At the end of the day, Star Wars is supposed to be fun, and I had fun with this episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they take it. Possible he could fight Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Kenobi show. I'm assuming we're talking about Aphra in this.
Chrysanthemum has fought Kenobi before in the comics.
Kenobi. So we introduced Chrysanthemum in Boba, and then he makes an appearance in the Kenobi show, maybe.
I do. I actually don't think that Chrysanthemum will show up again in this series. I believe they will bring him back for sure. He carries an amazing presence, and I mean, I like him because he's kind of like the anti-Wookiee. Like, Wookiees are always shown to be kind of, and even in a lot of the comic books and currently in the High Republic, Wookiees are always shown to be emotional. They're loving. They're they have life debts where they. They're very loyal. They're empathetic, even though they're giant, like strong beings. They've been shown as like laborers and they've been enslaved. They're not crazy warriors. They're obviously great warriors because they're strong, but they're not shown as being super violent or anything like that. Whereas Chrysanthemum seems like a total badass. So, and obviously. Doesn't seem to follow the way that Wookiees are or have been shown so far. Well, that's more like a Trandoshan, boss.
Maybe that's why I like him so much. Is it's a darker, grittier take on a character or a type of character that we have come to see from the laborers that you mentioned in Rebels to the warriors that you see in Episode 3. You really haven't seen like a grizzled, battle-hardened, bounty hunter type of Wookiee. Although that role doesn't surprise me, for somebody of their strength and their caliber. So I hope he comes back, and I hope that we actually do see that stupid Twilight Major Domo finally get his just desserts now that he's been captured by Boba's gang. I am so fucking tired of his sass. He needs to get fed to Boba's new Rancor. I'm telling you. Also, that brings up an interesting question. Machete being in Star Wars, yay or nay?
Yeah, you know what? He can show up in anything. Yeah, he can show up in anything. Danny Trejo can show up in any show for any reason and fit in there. So I honestly like he can be on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Star Wars and a horror show and science fiction. Like, he could be on anything. He could show up anywhere in any way and fit right in there. So, and I think most fan bases of anything would be happy to see him there and just be like, cool, it's him.
Except Star Wars, apparently. People are like, I'm sorry, am I watching Power Rangers meet Spy Kids? What the hell is this bullshit? Like, oh my god, this is why I don't call myself a Star Wars fan anymore. I call myself a sci-fi fan, and I call myself like a television fan, but I cannot call myself a Star Wars fan the way that I used to, because it's almost like this fan base will just find literally fucking anything to bitch about. And I'm done with it. Like, I would rather, embrace the Danny Trejo. I would rather embrace the multicolor speeders. I would rather just continue to suspend my disbelief a little bit further. I mean, it's magical wizards with laser swords that are fighting, bucket heads and flying around in spaceships. Like, when did any of this become a source of realism?
Oh man, you gotta come on. You gotta come on with me and talk to Sean about this, because he would 100% disagree with most of what you're saying, and I say it all the time. I was like, it's a fun kid show. You're supposed to have fun. He's like, oh my god, I can't. You know what? I'm gonna save it. Next time we talk about Star Wars, you need to come on. I love having this argument with Sean. Too bad he's sick today. So, but yeah, no, I'm totally on board. Like, just have fun. It's a fun show. It's not really a believable. It's not really a believable universe in a lot of ways. It's fun.
Ken the 13th says, curious if the new Rancor will be a Trojan horse. I don't think anybody's going to hide inside the Rancor and then the Rancor shows up as a peace offering and boom, something comes out of it. Although that would be interesting if the Hutts offered this gift and then planted a bomb inside the Rancor to try and assassinate him just one more time. But I think they're trying to have Boba ride the Rancor into battle. Like, you see him saying, I want to learn to ride it. And then the end of the episode, it's let's prepare for war. Like, obviously those two are going to cross over. And I feel like by the time the finale rolls around, he will have tamed it enough to be able to ride a Rancor into battle, which is something we've never seen in Star Wars before.
Man, and them mentioning the Witches of Dathomir riding them was really cool. Back to Legends canon.
Like the courtship of Princess Leia, right?
Isn't that? Yeah. Yep.
That's what it harkens from. Man, yep. That's a deep cut, and I'm here for it. Like, that's the okay. I'm done. Episode 4 drops in just a few short hours. I don't think I'll be staying up late enough to actually watch it. But, one of the other shows that's out there right now is Peacemaker, and Toronto Freddy was in the chat asking us if we've watched Peacemaker. I've only seen the first episode. 4th one drops this Thursday, apparently, so maybe I'll get caught up on Thursday. Who knows? But I will say the first 10 to 15 minutes of that first episode was some of John Cena's best comedic timing that I've ever seen. Like, the stuff that he did in the beginning of that first episode. I won't say the whole episode was great, but the first 15 minutes or so were really, really good. And seeing Tasty from Orange is the New Black taking on a lead role in this, it was a pleasant surprise, but it was a good one. I think it's got a lot of potential. So that's my quick 30-second blurb on Peacemaker. We'll probably have a more full-on discussion at some other point in another episode. But any other thoughts on Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa?
I actually thought this was by far my favorite episode of all of them so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I just watched it 10 minutes before we came on here. So it's still kind of fresh in my head. And, I started to watch it, and then I dozed off. I was real tired one night. And I was asking, I was like, how long is it going to be? I was like, yeah, I can knock it out. But I trust Filoni and Jon Favreau that they're not going to put out something that's going to be crap.
This is my favorite thing in Star Wars right now. And I've been trying to steer clear of social media, as my little name would say there, but I have gotten sucked in a little bit on this. Just seeing the turn of everyone being like, Favreau and Filoni are the greatest thing ever to happen to Star Wars. And then all the shit that's gone down with the Book of Boba Fett, it's like, who makes that show, right? You know who's doing everything on that show, right?
They fucking ruined it.
Yeah. They ruined my Star Wars. This is not my Star Wars.
No, Kathleen Kennedy did that.
Yeah, whatever.
Especially that movie, what was it called? The Last Jedi?
Anyway, that's our thoughts on Chapter 3. We'll have more thoughts on Chapter 4 and 5, and maybe I'll come back on for the season finale, or we'll talk about it over on IPC, or we'll have something about it. Quick little plug for our friend Toronto Freddy before we move on to our next segment. He says, for anyone who's interested, I did background in Oshawa last summer for a show called Station 11, which is currently on HBO Max and Crave. Check it out if you get the chance. So, congrats to our friend Toronto Freddy. We'll see if we can keep a lookout for you. I'm kind of in between shows right now. I'm caught up on just about everything. So, after I'm done with Peacemaker, maybe I'll give Station 11 a shot just to see if I can spot the cameo. But we're on
just to see Oshawa on the show. So
yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. The only time I've seen my town represented in a TV show was this ABC sitcom called Christella that only lasted one season, and the first episode of that Fox Mutants on the Run show that lasted a couple of years, I think the pilot was set in Dallas. But then after that, obviously there's the soap opera Dallas, but I don't watch that bullshit. And then there's the drama that is the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't watch that bullshit either. So, there's just not a lot coming out of Texas these days. I wonder why.
We had the It House in my hometown, so that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And who was it? I think it was Michael Bish that went to North Carolina and saw a lot of the set locations from.
We went to Wilmington or something like that.
Yeah,
Wilmington?
No, Raleigh. Yeah, it was Wilmington. No,
I thought he said Wilmington.
I thought he said Wilmington, and he went to go check out a cool. Yeah, and all that stuff's on the Fandom Empire Den if you want to check it out. But yeah, he went to go see some of the spots where Halloween Kills and Conjuring and one other movie.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, go check out the Fandom Empire Den if you're not a part of it. There's always some really great articles, discussions, posts like the one that Michael Bish posted there. So there's some really great stuff happening there. All right, we're on to our final segment of the evening, and if anybody wants to participate in the chat, you can do so. This evening's topic is one that I came up with, and it was kind of last minute, so I apologize, but it's basically just our top 7 most rewatchable series. Because for me, there are movies like Joker and V for Vendetta that are fantastic movies, but they're not necessarily something that I would watch over and over again. They don't have like a super high rewatchability factor. It's like I got to be in just the right mood to be able to watch those. But then there are other franchises like Star Wars that I'm just like, yeah, I can pop that on in the background while I'm making dinner. And so that's what tonight's topic is. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're feeling better. But yeah, we're going to do 7, 6, 5, finish at 5, and then we'll go around the horn with 4s, 3s, 2s, and then 1s. So I guess I'll lead off just to kind of get the ball rolling. My number 7 is The Big Bang Theory. I can literally have that on anywhere, anytime, and it's just a stupid show that doesn't have a whole lot of like scientific accuracies, even though they try to make it that way. And it's got 12 seasons of it. So as soon as I finish, I can just start it right over again and still get the same chuckles at, the same stupid shit that I did, a couple of months back when I started it over. So Big Bang Theory is pretty rewatchable for me. Number 6 is Pirates of the Caribbean. I really enjoy the first 3 movies in particular, but Curse of the Black Pearl is probably one of the most rewatchable movies I know of. No matter what is going on, no matter what mood I'm in, I can enjoy the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise in one way, shape, or form. So that would be my number 6. And then, as I mentioned a second ago, Star Wars. There's so much to pull from that. It can be Mandalorian. It can be, episode 2. It could be whatever. But for me, it's mainly the first 6 movies. If I'm getting super specific, it's like the first 6 movies that are the most rewatchable for me. 7, 8, 9, I can't even remember the last time I watched those. And the only reason I'm watching Mando right now is because my fiance wants to watch it with me. But other than that, like the only stuff from Star Wars that I actually rewatch a lot would be those first 6 films. So Big
We're
Bang Theory,
doing films and series.
I mixed it up a little bit. Yeah.
I just did all series.
That's fine. I think Maddie was only doing TV shows because they should be like, mixed up. But that like when I was thinking about what things do I end up watching the most of, those were some of the things that came to mind. So fair warning, most of the rest of it's going to be TV. I don't think there's much anything outside of Pirates and Star Wars that isn't TV. So I think everything else is a series. So Kieran, you're 765?
So I didn't order them real like these are kind of interchangeable because they're rewatchable based on. I think I know where I can go with my top 3, but I when I made my list, not only shows that I can rewatch, but kind of shows that I think are rewatchable in general. And a lot of that is comedy shows. I feel like short comedy shows are the easiest to rewatch. Yep. I didn't put Game of Thrones on here because I feel like it's a tough task to rewatch Game of Thrones. I have rewatched it, and I probably will again because we're going to do a series on it. I really love it, but I feel like it's a tough task for someone who's just generally likes it. Anyways, 3 shows that I rewatch all the time. House, I have rewatched 4 or 5 times. It's very episodic, even though there is always a storyline going. It's you can watch it every time and just be a new episode, not really continuing on with a season-long storyline except for in the background. I think it's always interesting. I think it's still applicable today. It's got great rewatch value. My number 6, I have Trailer Park Boys, because Trailer Park Boys is the dumbest possible lowbrow shit you could watch, and yet it's they're such short episodes. They're like 20 minutes long. They go by really quickly. There's not a lot you have to pay attention to. At one point, I rewatched the whole show every morning on the bus to work on my phone, and it was just, you don't really have to follow the whole thing. It's just funny, all the dumb things that Ricky says. There's the jokes are repeat all over and over and over again. It's the same kind of jokes. So easy to watch. Love rewatching it. Have done it several times. Which brings me to, I'm going to put The Simpsons on here. Okay. The Simpsons, you can rewatch all the time for the last 30 years. The caveat is you can watch the first 12 seasons, 13 seasons maybe. After that, I doubt I would ever want to rewatch the rest of the show. So my childhood Simpsons, all the way until I was pretty much an adult, I think. Around season 13 is super rewatchable. It's still on TV. It's got to be one of the most rewatchable shows because they're still replaying the old seasons over and over and over and over again on multiple stations. It's on FX right now. It's on Much Music or whatever. I don't know. Is it still called Much Music? I don't know. It's still on multiple channels, repeating all the time. So number 5, The Simpsons.
All right. Maddie, how about you?
All right. So my number 7 is your number 7.
Really?
Big Bang Theory.
Nice.
It's kind of one of those you can just like plug in and have in the background. What was it? You said 12 seasons?
It's got 12 seasons.
Yeah, so it's just, I think it was good in the beginning. It's kind of bumpy in the middle, but towards the end it got really good. My number 6, Golden Girls.
Dude, I don't know why I didn't even.
That's one of those you can just like put on and just hear Sophie and.
Honestly, that's one that needs just a shuffle button. You could literally just jump into any episode of Golden Girls, any season, and just be entertained with that. Man, that takes me back to like when I was watching Lifetime with my grandma when we would go out of town to go visit her. Like that's all we'd put on was like TV Land or Lifetime or whatever, and it was Golden Girls all night long. Man,
My number 5 is indie. I decided to throw movies in there, so I'm the same way. I work from home, and I've got it set up where to this like right going this way is my home computer, and to my right is my work computer. I got 2 monitors, and I have YouTube TV going, and I'll have indie going. It's been on Paramount the past couple of days. So I'll have that going, and it's just like one of those. You put it right in, you start it anywhere, and just let it keep on going. It's just one of those enjoyable series of movies, and I just hope they're not doing one too many coming out next year.
All right, we got some submissions in the chat I'm going to get to before we go to our 4s. Kenny's got Seinfeld at 7, the first couple of seasons of like DC TV, like Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl. He's got Star Wars, anything Star Wars at 5, anything Superman related at 4, the DC animated universe TV shows and films at 3, Marvel MCU shows at number 2. Freddie's waiting for or watched Cobra Kai season 4 3 times in a week. Good grief. Melissa's also watching Cobra Kai. George, aka Chosen Nightwolf, is going through the Avatar universe, doing Avatar The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Those are all really great selections. Thanks to everyone that's joining us in the chat tonight. Appreciate that. On to our number 4s. We'll go one at a time around there with 4, 3, 2, and then 1 to close things out. My number 4 is the 90s Star Trek. 90s Star Trek. So like Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Those have some of the highest rewatchability factors of any of the Star Trek franchise, in my opinion. Even though DS9 is more of a serialized story, I love the serialized story that they tell. And it's just one of my favorite TV shows, period. And the adventures and the character development, the growth that you see in Voyager is still something that I feel like a lot of other TV shows are trying to mimic and maybe aren't doing quite as well. But yeah, some of the highest rewatchability factors for me, the 90s Star Trek, Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
My number 4, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I also add, I do really like DS9. I'm not a big Voyager fan, although I think Janeway is the best captain.
Ooh, that's a hot
take. She's an amazing captain. I think she's great. I love her character, and I'm a big fan of several other captains. But like a lot of people, when they have your pick your crew thing, I put Janeway as my captain quite often. I put The Next Generation. No, I have watched through The Next Generation 7, 8, 9 times, and it's a lot of it's a lot to get through because they're like 23, 24 episode seasons. There's 7 of them.
Yep.
And I love the series. It's really a flavor of show that you can't get anywhere else. I really like to watch your Big Bang Theories and your I feel like the Big Bang Theory and Community and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and like a lot of those shows are kind of like if you like one, you can jump onto another one.
Yeah,
it's your kind of comedy. There's quite a bit of shows you can get that kind of flavor from, with just a slight variation. The Next Generation, or Star Trek in general, it's kind of a vision of what the world could be if we all work together and we all, work things out and work for the greater good of mankind. And I don't think there's a lot of shows that can do that. So I think when I feel that way and when I feel like I need to be peaceful and when I try to, like quite often I try to get a little bit more peace in my life, I guess I'll say, is when I'm like, you know what, I should rewatch Star Trek. And recently I have done that. So that's why I put it on my list as number 4.
Yeah. Star Trek's a great sense of escapism because it blends reality with fantasy in ways that very few others do. And a lot of that has to do with the fantasy of the world being more perfect than it is now. So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in real life right now, I feel like the Earth is going to last maybe another 50 years. So Star Trek lasts quite a while longer.
Just in time for me to die.
Because people get their shit together in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
I don't know if either one of y'all really got into it. I know Sean's a big fan of it. I came in kind of late with it. I saw one episode, and then I asked a buddy of mine about him, and next thing you know, I'm binging the first 3 seasons. And I did it like, I was sick on a Thursday, and I took off Friday and everything, and I just binged that whole series that whole weekend. I mean, up and down. Just watching it. Great storyline. I mean, family, betrayal. I mean, it's got everything in it. Yeah, that's definitely one I could rewatch again and again.
I watched a few episodes with this girl that I was dating at the time. That was like her thing that she was binging, so I binged it with her, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of hard for me to get back into something if it reminds me of somebody I don't want to be reminded of.
I was just gonna say, you got a fiance. You can't talk about people you binged with in the past.
I know, and that's why I can't watch it now. Like we gotta like have these new experiences and have these new shows that we're watching together and things like that. And so
I love Sons of Anarchy. I love Sons of Anarchy, but I have to disagree in that I think it's a hard show to rewatch because it's all very shocking. Like, this guy dies, that guy dies. Remember, this happens. Oh, they're in shit now. I tried rewatching it, and I got to the 3rd season, which is quite a lot of people think the 3rd season when they went to Ireland was probably the worst season. But I just couldn't get by after that. I stopped watching it, and I moved on to something else. I think knowing what's going to happen in the end really makes that show a hard rewatch. But I mean, that's just how I feel. It's not like there's probably many people that feel the other way because it's a very popular show. It was in my top 3, I believe, when we did top TV shows, but rewatch is hard on that one, I feel.
Well, if you disagree with it,
you're going either way. Yeah.
If you disagree with his choice, you're going to really disagree with me with my number 3, Kieran. My number 3 is actually Game of Thrones. I haven't rewatched it recently just because it's a big time commitment. But when I do, I end up binging it because when I finally do start that rewatch, I can't stop. I get so engrossed in the story, the characters, the action. Look at me, I'm wearing House Stark. Okay, like I'm representing. I just once I start Game of Thrones, I can't stop. Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. I think I got something similar when I got the Blu-ray box set because I was doing them season by season as they were releasing towards the tail end. But man, I'm really one of those that when I start up Game of Thrones again, can't stop. So that's why it's my number 3. I may not rewatch it all the time, but when I do, can't stop.
Yeah, I actually didn't put my top 3 shows of all time were Sons of Anarchy, Game of Thrones, and Breaking Bad, and I think those are super popular choices. But I have rewatched all of those shows. I watched them all twice through, but they were hard rewatches. I did rewatch. I had to go every night, and I made sure every night, like as a Gail, I better watch another episode. But I don't think I would rewatch any of those shows 10 times. And this next, my top 3 is all shows I've watched like 10 times through. And my number 3, Rick and Morty, of course.
Obviously. I mean, I would be surprised if I didn't see it on the list.
I have rewatched Rick and Morty seasons 1 to 4 at least 100 times. No joke. 100 times. At one point, I watched Rick and Morty before bed every night for a year. So that's 365 times I watched Rick and Morty, and there was 3 seasons. It was 30 episodes. So I rewatched the seasons at least 10 times, like 12 times that year. I rewatched that show. And I probably watched more than one episode a few times. So I have rewatched that show so many times. It's absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, I started my own show about it and have been super into it and have hundreds of dollars worth of Rick and Morty stuff hanging out behind me. But I think it's very much an escape for me. I know most of the people who are into Rick and Morty are super, like, really into Rick and Morty. So it's a show that gets obsessive with people, and I think the rewatch value is very high. Obviously, I'm tuned into people a little bit more on the Rick and Morty spectrum, though, because I have lots of sites and pages and a show based on the show. So a little bit of a bias from me.
No, but it totally not surprising in the slightest.
No.
I would be more surprised if it wasn't on the list. So that was actually kind of the way I was with one of the things on my list that we're coming up to in a second here. Actually, no, okay, Maddie, you go ahead with your 3, and then I'll give my little anecdote. Sorry.
My 3 is Seinfeld. It's like Big Bang, like any great comedic show that was on for a good chunk of years. And I think some people believe that Seinfeld is a acquired taste. I don't. I just think it's one of those funny shows that had the right characters, right people playing the characters, the right amount of comedy in it, and it's just it's a great show to watch. Even it's like one of those, like what you say in the Big Bang, you turn it on, or it's on while you're making dinner, and you just go.
I'm still acquiring the taste. I'm one of those people that's in the boat that I do feel like it's a bit of an acquired taste, just because the comedic style and the comedic timing is very different from anything that I had watched previously. But I will say the deeper into it I go, the more entertaining it becomes for me. Like, and maybe that's the acquired taste part. Maybe they just hit their stride better after a couple of seasons. I don't really know, but I do enjoy it. I didn't feel like I enjoyed it enough for it to warrant being in my top 7. I didn't grow up on it. My parents did. They would send me to bed and then watch it. So I'm like just missing the cut. But yeah, Fandom Empire. Sean's back. He's with us in the chat. He actually might hop on the show towards the end of the programming here if he's feeling up for it. So stick around, all you loyal watchers and listeners. We're almost done with this, but we may not.
I want to see.
Yet.
I want to see Sean puke on the air. Can we get that?
No, you keep him on long enough, it might happen. Who knows?
I actually, when it comes to Seinfeld, I'm actually rewatching it right now. And I do like Seinfeld, but I do feel it's an acquired taste because I mention it to so many people. And it's funny, for a show that broke records and was, obviously very, very popular. And still, if you look this list up, rewatchable shows, it'll be on most of the lists that you see, from the big websites and things like that. I do feel it's an acquired taste, though, because I think that people love it, or they're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I don't know if it's the fact that the acting is really outrageous and, like Jerry Seinfeld's a terrible actor, but his jokes are hilarious. He's an awesome comedian, and the show is hilarious. But like his acting in it is like you could almost see the
Blame.
cameras when he's acting, but and Kramer's always really outrageous, and everyone is so just really out there. The characters are so crazy, they're unbelievable, which is funny for a show that's about real life.
I love Kramer's idea about a coffee book table book about coffee tables.
Kramer's always been my favorite part of that show. The show is not on my list, however, though. So
coffee table book about coffee tables.
Are we on your? Was that yours or that was Matt's?
That was Matt's number 3.
So we're back to you.
So we're at my silver medal, and honestly, I think my silver medal may actually surprise a few people because anybody that knows me knows that I really, really love this franchise, and that is Friends. I think Friends, with its 10 seasons, is one of the most rewatchable shows I've ever seen. The comedy is always really, really entertaining, and even if it's a timepiece set in the 90s, early 2000s, it's great to be able to get a glimpse at what life was like in that time. The further away from it we get, the more classic I feel like it becomes. I feel like in the next 10 years or so, it'll start becoming what Golden Girls is for this generation. I think eventually it'll get to that point. But there was a time where I was so focused on my studies. There was a time I was just so gung-ho about getting my career started and things like that, that I didn't socialize a whole lot. I didn't join a fraternity. I didn't really do a whole lot outside of maybe some volunteer work at my church. And so I didn't have like that big of a social group. And there were times that I would just, finish class, finish my internship, and go home with, some drive-through dinner, Taco Bell, some shit like that. And I would just watch Friends until I fell asleep. And those people basically were my friends. I would go home to hang out with my friends. And you can say that sounds sad. I say it was my way of managing what I would consider to be depression at the time. I wasn't like aggressive cutting myself depressed, but there were some things that were pretty depressing going on in my life. And that show and rewatching it time and time again was something that got me through it. So Friends is actually my number 2 most rewatchable franchise, and my number 1 might surprise you. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, Friends was definitely a cultural phenomenon and something that's coming back right now. You see it in shirts and coffee mugs and things. And there was a Lego set that came out not too recently. Mm-hmm. Even the younger generation of kids that I'm seeing, grade 7 and grade 8, a lot of them are watching Friends now, which is interesting. But Friends has always been a show that I didn't really like. So I think it's pretty good. And when I watch it, I can watch it, but I've never been hooked at all. My number 2 is going to be probably really surprising. It comes with another strange caveat that my number 2 is Prison Break, but only season 1. I can rewatch season 1 of Prison Break so often. I think it's amazing. I always forget exactly how they do it and exactly how they get out. The problem is the show stuck around for like 4 seasons after that, where they had to somehow find a way to get in prison again so that they could break out again. And that happens in season 4, I think, which is probably the second best season. I don't know. It's just so clever. I think the characters are so interesting. I don't know if either of you guys have seen Prison Break, but I would 100% recommend you go on Netflix and watch the first season of Prison Break. It's just it's amazing. They're constantly trying to figure out how they're going to break out of this prison, and basically one character is trying to break his brother out of prison, so he gets in prison on purpose, and in order to figure out how to escape, he figured out outside, and he printed the schematics on his body in an intricate tattoo. So I don't know. It's really interesting, but like 100% give it a chance. It's so quick to get through the first season. But yeah, the second season is just kind of after that. And then eventually they get locked up in a prison in Mexico or something like that. and then it's kind of interesting again. But really, I've rewatched this show so many times. So, and just the first season.
I rewatched the first season of Firefly, just the first season.
One of the great tragedies.
That's a deep cut. Sorry about that. Okay, Matt, your silver medal.
My silver medal got split in half because I couldn't agree. It's Star Wars and its friends.
So it's that one episode where Rachel dresses up as Princess Leia.
Oh, goddamn right it was. Oh God.
Did she know she had to go sans underwear then?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, she was trying to live out one of Ross's fantasies for him.
Mm-hmm.
She put the buns in her hair, which actually, according to the movies, is inaccurate because she has the buns in episode 4 and she's got a braid when she's wearing the gold bikini. But we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, she was trying to live out one of Ross's fantasies for him, and then Ross ended up kind of playing himself because I think it was Chandler who like psyched him out and was like, "Do you ever get intimate with a woman and then randomly start thinking about your mother?" And then it actually happened to Ross when Rachel was trying to live out this fantasy for him. He saw her in the bikini, and then the next thing he knows, he's seeing his mom in the bikini, and he's like, "Damn it, Chandler!" So
yeah, so that
was a funny sequence.
Yeah, that was another set of shows like background or sit down and watch Star Wars. I mean, for me, if I'm not doing anything and I'm at home, TBS or TNT, and it's on, yeah, I'm watching it. I'll have it on in the background.
Yep. I'm surprised you still have TBS and TNT, to be honest.
I know.
Oh, man. Time to get out the pomp and circumstance. We're on to our number ones. And this one, like I said, may surprise some people, but I'll try and explain my logic for it. The number one for me, my number one series, franchise, whatever, that I find to be the most rewatchable is Parks and Recreation. And let me tell you why. Because even though the first season's a little rough, the way the show continuously provides hope is something that I feel like I need sometimes. The inspiration that Leslie provides, the great friendships and loyalties that you see throughout it, the interweaving love lives and character developments. And by the last season, nobody even works in the Parks and Recreation department anymore. You know, the characters have all grown and evolved and changed so much that, you know, it gives you hope that in the next 4 or 5 years, you're not going to be stuck doing the same thing, that you may be, something beyond the title of the show, like what happens here. So, I love the characters. I love the direction that all of them go. I love the final season, wrapping everything up in a neat little bow. And when it finishes, I get upset that I don't get to go on more adventures with these people. So I start season 1 right over again so that I can keep, living out these experiences that these people have. And there's a really great podcast called Parks and Recollection that is hosted by Rob Lowe and one of the writers, Alan Yang. And they relive each individual episode and like take you down memory lane in a very backlot, behind the scenes kind of way. And it just helps me appreciate the show even more. So my most rewatchable series, as soon as it's done, I'm starting it again. Parks and Rec.
Yeah. I have not been through the whole show before. But I do like that show quite a bit, and I do like a lot of the characters. I really love Aubrey Plaza. I think she's friggin' hilarious. My show is actually kind of similar, but it's a show where the fans of this show always rewatch the show over and over again. The fans of the show constantly watch this show. As soon as it ends, back to the start. And I'm talking The Office.
I was about to praise all three of us for not having it on any of our lists.
No,
and then
not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Bitch.
The Office has so many different things about it to like. It's very funny. It's very awkward. It has a love story in it that kind of endures and goes through quite a bit of changes. Characters drop off, and you don't think that the show is going to be successful without Michael, but it was. And the finale to the show is just like really, really fantastic. It brings back together everything. And it was really just a celebration of the show. I honestly get pins and needles just thinking about the finale of that show. And it is kind of an acquired taste, the same way that Seinfeld was, but it was also very, very popular the way that Seinfeld was. So I think that most of the people I know who are big fans of The Office, my sister, I have a friend named Howie who lives down in the States there in Ohio. I met, and I know he rewatches it over and over again. I work with a girl who rewatches it over and over again. I have so many friends who are fans of The Office, and they all rewatch the show over and over again from the start, over and over and over and over again. And I can't really say that about any other series where every fan I know of the series just constantly goes through it. And I've been through it maybe 5 times or so. I'm not that crazy about it like some of these people are, but like, you know, once you've rewatched a series 3-4 times, it's got some rewatchability, at least in your opinion. You know, like there are other shows, like I said, I love. I've rewatched Game of Thrones once. I've rewatched Sons of Anarchy once, but I don't think I'll ever get to rewatching those shows 5 times. Whereas most of the shows, I think all the shows on my list have gotten that mark.
My fiance loves The Office. Like her her dating profile once said, "Just looking for the Jim to my Pam." So like she was super.
So you're Jim.
I don't want to be Jim. I want to be
Jim Halpern.
No, I want to be Ben Wyatt, man. If you look at the relationship between Ben and Leslie, it is so much better and way less toxic than Jim and Pam's turned out to be. Like night and day. But I totally get where you're coming from, and I get where everybody else is coming from, because it's another one of those kind of like Golden Girls where you can kind of hit the shuffle button and watch any episode, and and you'll find something to laugh at. So
it is for the most part like that. You can tell which season you're in sometimes based on where the characters are, and this is the one where Jim dates someone else for a while, and you know, things like that. You can usually track it actually based on Jim and Pam's relationship. But yeah, I do want to read off as well. I got my wife to make one, and I thought it would be interesting, you know, being that she's obviously going to have different opinions than us. So I'm just going to read off her list, if that's okay.
Yeah.
She said The Goldbergs, Friends, Vampire Diaries, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Community, Big Bang Theory, and Grey's Anatomy were her list of rewatchable shows.
I can agree with probably like 5 or 6 out of those.
A couple of those were on your list, right? Big Bang Theory,
Big Bang and Friends.
Friends.
I do like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, just not enough to like rewatch it after it stops. That's another one that I kind of have to be in the mood for. But I totally get where she's coming from. So
I've rewatched Brooklyn Nine-Nine probably 3 times, I think, but not all seasons included. I think I went back when it was on season 4, and then went back when it got to season 5.
I will rewatch the Halloween heist episodes.
Yeah,
like just those alone.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good. I know. I'm a big Captain Holt fan. I love anything that has a lot of him in it. Anyways, were you at Maddie's number 1, or was that?
That's number 1. We're almost done for the night, y'all.
Mariska Hargitay. That's my number 1.
What'd you say?
Mariska Hargitay. That's my number one.
You speaking another language, sir?
Come on, you know who Mariska Hargitay is.
Did you
Law and
just?
Order SVU.
SVU.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you just had a stroke or something there. I thought we were gonna have to call you an ambulance.
I thought he was
No,
like I thought it was like some Latin phrase or something, and I'm like, why are you speaking a dead language?
no, it was what
How
was it that movie with Mike Myers?
Mm.
several movies.
What was, no, it was the one when he used to oh God, what do you call it? 9 to 5 is the intro song, and he's playing it on there. Oh my, the Love Guru. And every time he
Don't
greets somebody, he says Mariska Hargitay.
don't mention the Love Guru and the rewatchable anything.
No.
List.
What I'm saying is, everybody's like, when they say hi or greet somebody, it's like Mariska Hargitay.
Go on, just tell
Yeah,
us
okay.
about the show I've never heard of.
You heard of Law and Order Special Victim Unit?
I
Yeah,
know
it's-
about Law and Order. I don't know anything about the shows. Is that the
Yeah.
one that had? Is that the one that
Seasons
had Ice-T on it?
Yeah, Chris Maloney. I've been a fan of that show for years. It's one of those shows I can just watch one of the old episodes, watch one of the new episodes, and it's still good. It's still captivating. It's still a great story, even depending on which one it is. Do they get justice? Do they not get justice? Do they? Who's the DA? Who's not the DA? Some DAs are better than the others. Some weren't. So I mean, it just had so many good twists and turns over the year. I will say, if I had an honorable mention, Office was in my honorable mention, along with, this is showing my age, Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh man, you said Beverly Hill, and I was hoping you were going to say Beverly Hillbillies, but 90210 was definitely one that I heard a lot of other people talking about. Not something I ever got into personally, but I think there was a lot of really good diversity in this. We had some action stuff, we had some drama stuff, we had some comedy, we had a few movie franchises intermingled in there. We had some great commentary from the folks in the chat. Thanks to everybody that put stuff in there during our discussions and submitting stuff. I think Kenny finally sent us his number one. I want to give out the full 7 that he put in there. Any 80s or 90s cartoon series like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, X-Men, Spider-Man, etc. That's cool.
Batman the Animated Series.
Batman TAS. I've got that on DVD amongst all of the Star Treks. So anytime I need to rewatch something like that, I've got that at my disposal. But not going to be doing that anytime soon. But we are going to be doing like a special stream that Sean's putting together behind the scenes right now. So don't leave the channel, even though we're about to wrap up this episode. There's still more to come here on Fandom Empire. But I think that's going to do it for this edition of Fandom Empire Live. Thanks to everybody again that tuned in. If you haven't yet, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Go follow us on all of our socials. And yeah, we will be seeing you all sometime soon. But in the meantime, Kieran, do you want people to be following you on social media, or are you taking a break right now?
I mean, I've kind of like slowly been getting back into Facebook a little bit, but that's just because I've had a lot of time lately. I'm still trying to keep off of it. You can find me on Facebook. You can add me from the Fandom Empire Den or whatever. I still use Messenger and talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just try to keep out of all the arguments and all the bullcrap that goes on there between fandoms, and I've been totally off the other platforms. So
that's fair. Matt, where can people keep up with you when you're not doing this?
I'm around on Facebook and the chat rooms and stuff. If I'm on Twitter, at Matty Phillip West, you can find me there, and on Instagram and all that good stuff.
Well, as for me, I'm at that profile that you've seen in the corner, lower third, all night. Zach the Voice on just about any platform that you can see. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. That's the username you'll find me at. Probably not posting as much as I should be for somebody that's a communications major, but I'm getting back into the swing of things. So lot of big stuff on the horizon here at Fandom Empire at the IPC podcast. Go follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and go find the Fandom Empire Den if you haven't joined it yet, because basically all the announcements that need to happen will be happening over there. And I feel like I'm missing something, but this is why I'm the backup quarterback and not the starter. So I'm just going to close it, and we'll get ready for whatever's coming up next here on the channel. But for Kieran and Matt, I'm Zach. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Phantom Empire Live. Sean will hopefully be back next week, and we'll see you when we see you. Until then, good night, Mother Canuckers.